Hello everyone. What a conference, eh? Fantastic turnout. And the speakers we got lined up, amazing. Today I want to talk about the future. And I know that's been covered a little bit by some of the speakers. The MP for the Flemish Parliament delivered a fantastic speech on how we can get out of this mess, and I want to follow on from what he had to say. Specifically, the future generation. It is undeniable that the traditional inhabitants of this country are quietly becoming a minority, if we are not already. Some may say I've got the wrong end of the stick, phrases like positive discrimination and multiculturalism to try and dilute my speech. The same people will label me racist and fascist for pointing out that fact. My argument would be shut down right there and then, but not today. Today, we speak what others deem unspeakable. Friends, today we must address the 20-year-old elephant in the room. The way things are now, and the way they're currently going, it worries me. We need answers and solutions to the crisis that arrives on our shores every day. The amount of undocumented dangers that enter this country illegally with the help of the traitorous RNLI is a major concern to every single person in this country. Our government have purposely misled us when it comes to this topic. May, Rudd, Javid, Patel. They've all made false promises, and they have never wholeheartedly attempted to solve Great Britain's most pressing problem. It's very clear to me that Braverman will soon be on that list, very soon. 12 years of inconsistency and playing chicken is 12 years too long. Society, mankind, and all of its values are crumbling, and we are the only people holding what's left of it in its place. At this very moment, right now, children are being taught that gender is as interchangeable as a light switch going on and off. This type of poison will most certainly be the death of this modern world, and I do not want to see what comes after. Today, the lines are very much blurred. The fact is becoming fiction, and fiction is becoming fact. Those who speak out and attempt to desecrate the workings of the New World Order are silenced, harshly punished, and considered irrelevant in life. Donald Trump, Katie Hopkins, Andrew Tate, cancelled. So going back... Alex Jones. Us. People who speak on Twitter, on social media, you say something, the police will be brought onto you, you're classed as a criminal. It's ridiculous. There is no freedom of speech left at this current juncture. So going back to the first thing I said, future. My future, your future. While you're heading straight to the abyss of anarchy, no return ticket available. But my friends, the actions of the present can and will determine the actions of the future. What I am offering you is a brighter future, a better tomorrow. A tomorrow that ensures the safety of you, your children, and your children's children. A tomorrow with prosperity, freedom, and accomplishment. Let's not kid ourselves, a better tomorrow isn't going to come tomorrow, or the next day. But with the right level of sacrifice, determination, passion, and commitment, a better tomorrow is more likely now more than ever. A better tomorrow is guaranteed by the UK Independence Party. My evidence? Our fantastic manifesto. Our hard-working activists. Our committed campaign managers. Our regional officers. Our brave candidates. Our National Executive Committee. Our fabulous leadership team, and everyone sitting in this room today. With all of that at our disposal, Let's get out there and let's deliver that better future, the better tomorrow. Thank you very much.
So, Jack, the last time we met was in a by-election, I think it was.
Batley and Spen. Seems like just yesterday, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I still have the stab mark
Oh, God.
from the socialists.
Jesus Christ, what a day that was. Batley and Spen, we attended that rally, didn't we, where the anti-fascists gathered and anyone that wasn't with their group was classed as a fascist, and the police came and moved me along, and I was just trying to campaign for the by-election, so that was... But yeah, Stan, it sounds...
Is that the real first experience of that cancel culture, where they were trying to shut everybody down who wasn't on their side?
Yes, I'd seen things online before that and experienced stuff online, but that was the first physical time I felt intimidated by people who were trying to protect me.
Yeah, and that's the word, intimidated, because it was a spine tingling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was, you could feel them around you.
Yeah, and you knew that trouble was on the horizon, and by a click of a finger, it could all turn into anarchy, and I wasn't happy with that.
And that hasn't abated, has it? It's gone. It's proliferised in many ways, hasn't it? You've got burn, loot, and murder.
Yeah.
BLM and all the other groups now that are just what's the word? They're trying to stop normal people from getting on normally.
Yeah, they're sprouting up all over the place, and it's like they feed on reasons to hate, and it is, the word hate is what they use.
Correct.
It's they call us haters, they call us bigots, but they're the ones that would use violence and intimidation to shut our ideas down. So what they're calling us, they are actually embodied that in themselves.
It's a 1984 George Orwell, isn't it? Where truth is lies and lies is...
Yeah. And I'm fearful of coming to these events or going to rallies for that exact reason, because I'm going to call them gangs, because that's what they are. They're gangs of people who go around, call themselves anti-fascists, but are fascists in their ideals, fascists in their methods, and I think it's horrific. We are a democracy. Great Britain is a democracy. We have celebrated our democracy, the winning of World War II, the Jubilees with all the Union Jacks out, and they call us Nazis for putting our Union Jacks out.
Well, I mean, they even tried to attack the Queen's coffin, didn't they?
I mean, I don't care what you think of the monarchy. You could be an anti-monarchist for all I care. You could be a pro-monarchist. But there's a word called respect. When anyone dies, and the Queen, probably the most famous person in Britain, dying, you have to be respectful. And if you're not, you lose my respect.
Absolutely correct. Jack, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, Stan.
Thank you.
So we're here with Kane, and Kane is one of the youngest members of UKIP, I believe.
Yes.
Do you want to let the guys know a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so hi, I'm Kane. I'm from just outside Wrexham in North Wales. My role, I'm a regional officer for North Wales, so do a lot of campaign on the social media and things. I'm speaking today on why I joined UKIP and what I feel the future is for Britain. It's pretty glum at the moment, but how we feel that UKIP can change that. I'm also speaking about how UKIP can attract the younger voters. I think it's not just UKIP. I think we're having a problem across the sector with getting young people into politics, but especially right-wing politics. So yes, I'm expecting the day to go quite well. I think we've got a decent turnout of people. Some quite famous faces speaking today, I believe. So I'm sure it'll be great.
Yourself included?
Myself included, of course. Yes, of course.
You're very active as well, aren't you? You do a lot of street stores.
I've done a few street stores in my local area. One in Chester. One in Chester, one in Mold, and one in Wrexham. The reception, particularly in Wrexham, has been very good. People very keen to speak to us. A lot of people sort of think we're a spent force now because of Brexit. But what they don't realise, while the Tories are trying to steal sort of the populist image, they'll be exposed to what they are, and when they are, we've got to stand up and come to the face. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Kane, I'm really looking forward to your speech today, and I know that we'll catch up after to go over it a little bit more. Thank you for your time today, okay? Nice one, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is my first address to a conference. I hope not to get hit by the crutch, but I'm sure I'll be all right. So, I'll start off with why I joined UKIP. I joined last year after coming to the not-so-stark realisation that the Lib Lab Con was not working for Britain. The mainstream political parties, I felt, have been amalgamated into one, the establishment. None of them willing to discuss the issues that affect ordinary British people. With Labour blocking the biggest democratic exercise this country has ever gone, being Brexit, of course, and ignoring their working class voters, the majority of whom voted for it. And the Conservatives, their half-hearted version of a Brexit deal, combined with their tax hikes, have made them betray Britain. I felt as though no political party represented my views. I then came across UKIP, the only party I felt put common sense and rationalism at the centre of its policies, a lack of which we can attribute to many of the issues we face today. Which brings me on to the topic. We're in a cost of living crisis at the moment, which can largely be attributed to the fact that we rely heavily on foreign countries for our energy. 21% of the coal we use is imported, and more importantly, 50% of the gas we use is imported. Prices are increased because of so-called energy scarcity, despite the fact that we're sitting on 8.5 million cubic feet of proven, that's the key word, gas reserves, and 77 million tonnes of proven gas reserves, with unproven gas reserves reaching as high as 180 billion tonnes. Take, for example, it makes no sense that we import our energy while our former mining communities are in the top 30% most deprived areas of the country. Take, for example, Port Talbot. Higher educational figures are lower than average by about 3.5%, and so is unemployment. We can grow our economy by investing in the existing energy infrastructure we have in this country. I do agree that lower taxes will deliver a better future for Britain, but at the moment, in the economic turmoil we're in, it makes no sense to lower them. UKIP's package of tax cuts is far more comprehensive, however, and would be timed correctly, increasing the personal allowance to £20,000 and encouraging and scrapping business rates to encourage entrepreneurship and revive our high streets. Another problem we face today, which puts the future of our country in jeopardy, is the woke culture. Take, for example, the Tavistock Clinic, where children as young as 13 and 14 were given life-changing puberty blockers. This was in spite of the fact that NHS staff had made complaints for over 17 years. They talked about a culture of fear. They feared being called transphobic for speaking out against this madness. Progress was made in the case of Keira Bell, where a judge deemed that children under 16 are unlikely to be Gaelic competent to accept puberty blockers. This, however, was overturned. And if you think for 1 minute that the closure of Tavistock Clinic will bring an end to this woke madness, I wouldn't hold your breath. Because there's 2 new regional clinics that will be taking its place. They'll be taking a more holistic approach, probably ignoring the experts again. I'll now move on to how UKIP can attract younger voters. We have many policies which are attractive to young people, such as reducing the price of tuition for STEM subjects and supporting better public transport, such as the Hyperloop. UKIP will also make Britain's streets safer, where young people like to go out partying, by increasing the number of police officers by 10,000, and that's on top of the government's pledge, as well as lowering levels of immigration to secure future generations jobs, housing and access to university. As Pat mentioned earlier, student visas, the number of student visas granted has gone up massively. They will be competing for the British youth's places in university. Yes. I'll then moving on to the future of the party in general. There is a view held by some that we're somehow a spent force, that we were a single issue party only concerned with Brexit. They fail to understand, however, that we have had a comprehensive manifesto for many years. We will be needed more than ever. The mainstream parties, particularly the Tories, have tried to capitalise on the populist image that we have by getting rid of the TV licence, albeit in 2027, and starting fracking again. Whether that will happen, we don't know. But as usual, the mainstream parties will be exposed for what they are. Nothing but liars. They will talk, they will not deliver. And when this happens, we as a party need to be ready to stand up and take their place. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Treasure Oku, and today I want to talk about why I joined UKIP, the social issues going on today, and what I think we can do to be even more relevant. When I was 16 years old, I became interested in politics. PC culture, wokeness, and so-called social justice was suddenly everywhere. I noticed how things I thought had been common knowledge, common sense, had suddenly become controversial. The pointing out facts suddenly made you a bigot, a self-hater, a racist, a sexist, or whatever ists or phobes they could come up with. The telling the truth, which may hurt a few feelings, was worse, much worse than telling lies and false narratives that could irreversibly damage so many lives. That freedom of speech, total freedom of speech, our basic right as human beings, is dangerous. It's 6 years later now, and the division, the actual injustices and loss of sanity has only much further escalated. I joined UKIP because they're the only party in the UK I've seen that will speak up when so-called gender experts and woke teachers are warping children and teens into gender confusion. Speak up about the police arresting people for jokes and memes instead of focusing on rising knife crime and robberies. The only party I see that truly wants to protect our right to speak freely, to say no, we won't just sit down and stay quiet, we will speak up. As of September 2021, children under 16 in England may, depending on their presentation, be assessed as legally competent to give informed consent without the need to obtain a best interest order from the court to take hormone/puberty blockers. And little is known about the long-term side effects of hormone/puberty blockers in children. From the age of 16, teens who've been on hormone blockers for at least 12 months may be given cross-sex hormones, also known as gender-affirming hormones. These hormones cause irreversible changes such as breast development and breaking or deepening of the voice. It can also cause temporary or even permanent infertility. Many of us were so impressionable and naive as children and teens. Being a tomboy or a more feminine guy doesn't equal trans. Let kids be kids. A healthy and well-functioning society does not allow this. Roughly 2 months ago, Hampshire police arrested 51-year-old Army veteran Darren Brady, saying someone has been caused anxiety based on your social media post, and that is why you're being arrested. And arrested Harry Miller, former police officer, for filming it. Darren retweeted a picture of a swastika made out of pride flags. The arrest ironically proves the message behind the meme that if you joke or speak freely, say something critical of gender ideology, they will try to silence you. Part of UKIP's policies are to stop police investigation of and recording of non-crime hate incidents, police shouldn't be wasting council taxes because of some feelings were hurt or they caused anxiety. Meanwhile, there's a 16% increase in knife and offensive weapon offenses. As of March 2022, homicides are up by 140 and 11% increase in robbery, many of which go unsolved. It is clear to me the UK needs change in the right direction. I believe UKIP can do this, but we need to be heard. People need to know why to vote UKIP. Millions of people, especially in my age demographic, use social media such as YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook every day. Social media is what brought my awareness to politics when I was 16. There are many American conservatives with very similar views who make videos and posts online about social situations and the conservative perspective that the media and many politicians either sweep under the rug, hide, or completely disregard as intolerant or hateful. These videos get hundreds of thousands, even millions of views, many of which gain a large young adult audience. When people know what's really going on, they care. But in a World Wide Web with so many options to choose on what to give our attention to, we need to do what we can. Make more content for YouTube, make more posts on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, so people can get the facts on children transitioning, our freedom of speech being robbed, and the truth about mass and illegal immigration and its effects on the UK, the war on British culture, and give people's stories the attention they deserve. Thank you very much for your time.
So part of the UKIP conference, you had the UK Independence Party Young Voices. Now, yourself, you give a fantastic speech and everyone would have seen it by now. But I just wanted to delve into it a little bit more, really, because to stand up and speak is one thing. But obviously, the topics you're talking about are very... people can get attacked for, just having that sort of opinion. So what makes you openly happy to speak up about what you just spoke about?
Because I really care about children, and to let children make an irreversible decision that could leave them infertile, leave them with their voices breaking or deepening, I think is child abuse, and it's horrific what's going on, that's being legalized, that you can do that as young as 16, that you can take hormone blockers, which there's limited information knowing what happens to children who take hormone blockers. And for something that isn't necessary, like to change your gender, that's not going to kill you if you don't do it, the fact that that's being allowed, I think that's disgusting. And I feel like when in the future, if all this has stopped and we've come back to sanity, that people are going to look at what happened now as a tragedy, because there are people out there who are suicidal and feel like their life is over because of they have transitioned and then detransitioned. And all the time you hear how if you don't let your child transition, they're going to kill themselves. But there are people who have let their child transition, and now those children want to kill themselves. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. We've been talking about this topic quite a lot. We've had one of our guests was Tulip or Richie, who is very open about they've detransitioned and their life is ruined, basically, is what they're saying. They can't have a happy life at all. Do you think then, obviously, it was spoken about regarding Tavistock, and you've now got mermaids who are also under, let's just say people are actually calling them out for what they're actually doing. Do you see an end to this coming soon, or do you think it's going the opposite direction and it is really ramping up now? I think that we are going in a good direction, actually. I think a lot of people are seeing how this is crazy, how this is unfair to children and to women, like Leah Thomas being in the swimming category. I think she caused a lot of talk around the world, and now a lot of people want to make stricter rules on being able to join women's sports and being transgender. And then there's women's prisons where people are literal pedophiles and identifying as women, and the police are saying you should call them a woman, and people are being outraged, and then the police are apologizing for that. So I think that people are at least having more of a limit on this whole gender ideology.
And you're seeing it being called out as well. I can't remember if it was a basketball team or something like that, where there was a, let's say, biological male in the females' changing rooms. The female weren't happy with that, so they were asked to leave the changing room. So, you're absolutely right. We're seeing an absolute upside-down world where we are at the moment, and hopefully things are changing. But you mentioned there, obviously, UKIP are the only party that you've seen who are happy to go after these sorts of targets, and you've seen it on social media, so to say. What was it then about UKIP, other than that attracted you to the party?
I really like how they are pro-freedom of speech. I like how they talk about how Black Lives Matter is not this amazing, it's not this, civil rights movement that it tries to come out to be. It's trying to actually destroy the nuclear family, which is actually detrimental towards black people. It's calling everyone racist when they're not racist. And it's just creating more problems within the black community with rioting and looting, and honestly, a lot of the things that they say is just straight up disgusting.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And look, again, your speech was fantastic. I do believe what you were saying is absolutely correct. I do believe as well the future is with the youth. So thank you very much for your time today, and all the best. We look forward to getting you on our show with James one day. Thank you.